Okay, let's just dive right in. We're going to tackle a huge economic mystery today. Why does it feel like for so many of us, paychecks have been stuck in neutral for decades, all while the economy itself just keeps on growing? Well, this explainer is all about getting to the bottom of that.
I mean, it's a feeling a ton of people can relate to, right? You're putting in the hours, you're more productive than ever, but the reward just isn't showing up. And the thing is, the data shows it's not just in your head. It's a reality that has completely reshaped our economy.
So let's start with a number that really puts this all into perspective. $17,867. Get this, that's how much more the average middle-class household would have had in their pockets in a single year back in 2007 if our economy's growth had been shared the way it used to be.
That missing money? Some economists have called it the inequality tax. Now, it's not a tax you pay to the government. It's the price we pay for an economy where pretty much all the rewards of growth are flowing straight to the top. So the big mystery is, where did all that money go, if not into most people's paychecks? To solve this, first we've got to understand something called the Great Productivity Disconnect. See, for a long time, there was this kind of unspoken deal in the economy. As workers got more efficient and more productive, their pay would go up right alongside it. Simple, right?
Well, this is where that deal gets totally shattered. In the years after World War II, from 48 to 73, productivity and worker pay were basically joined at the hip. They both shot up by over 90%. But then, look what happens after 1973. Productivity keeps on soaring, up another 74%, but the typical worker's pay? It barely moves, just a 9% bump. They went from being best friends to living in completely different solar systems.
The Economic Policy Institute puts it pretty bluntly here. This isn't because workers stopped creating value. No way, they are. It's just that the value they're creating isn't showing up where it used to. So, the million-dollar question is, if workers are producing more than ever, where is all that extra money actually going?
And that brings us to the next part, the investigation. Let's put on our detective hats and follow the money. Let's see who did get the benefits of all that economic growth. And, well, the answer is pretty jarring.
The numbers here just speak for themselves. Since 1979, wages for the top 1% have absolutely skyrocketed, up 138%. And for the bottom 90%, almost everybody else, wages have crawled up by just 15% over that exact same time. That's not a gap, that's a canyon.
And if you want to see where this trend gets really wild, you just have to look at the corner office. The executive suite is where this gap becomes truly astonishing.
296 times. By 2013, that's how much more the average CEO of a big company made compared to a typical worker in their own industry. 296 to 1. Just let that sink in.
So, how on earth did we get here? Well, back in 1965, that ratio was 20 to 1. Pretty big, but okay. By 1989, it had jumped to 59 to 1. And then by 2013, it just exploded to 296 to 1. And this isn't just about rewarding great performance. The data actually shows that CEO pay has grown way faster than corporate profits, or even the pay of other top earners. But look, this story isn't just about CEOs versus everybody else. This trend is impacting workers all up and down the ladder, putting a real squeeze on millions and millions of American families. You can literally see the squeeze right here in the numbers. Between 1979 and 2013, high-wage workers saw their pay go up by a solid 41%. But for middle-wage workers, a tiny 6% increase, over 34 years. And for low-wage workers, it's even worse. Their hourly pay, after you adjust for inflation, actually went down by 5%. They literally lost ground.
So the next logical question is, okay, well, can't you just educate your way out of this problem? I mean, isn't getting a college degree supposed to be the ticket to a better paycheck? As it turns out, the story is a lot more complicated than that.
Even for young people who did everything they were supposed to do, went to college, got a 4-year degree, their wages, when you account for inflation, are lower today than they were for graduates back in the late 1990s. This isn't just a problem of skills or education, it's bigger than that.
And the squeeze isn't just on wages. Take a look at benefits. Back in 1989, more than 60% of recent college grads had health insurance from their job. Fast forward to 2012, and that number was cut almost in half, down to just 31%. So what is going on here? Why is this happening across the board?
So what's the root cause of all this?
Well, the core argument in the source material is that these massive trends, the pay disconnect, the soaring inequality, they aren't like the weather. They didn't just happen by accident. They were the result of very specific policy choices.
And here's the key idea straight from the report. Wage stagnation for most people wasn't created by some abstract economic force. It says wages were held down by deliberate policy choices. That's a huge claim. So let's look at a couple of concrete examples.
Okay, let's talk about the minimum wage. Back in 1968, the minimum wage, in today's money, was $9.58. By 2014, it had fallen all the way to $7.25. But, and this is the crazy part, what if it had kept pace with all that productivity growth we saw earlier? The minimum wage in 2014 wouldn't be $7 an hour, it would be over $18 an hour. That is a policy choice with massive consequences.
Here's another huge factor: the decline of unions. And the two trend lines you're looking at here are just a stunning, near-perfect mirror image of each other. As the percentage of workers in a union has steadily dropped, the share of the nation's entire income going to the top 10% has steadily climbed. Less bargaining power for workers has been a huge driver of more inequality.
So when you put all these different pieces of the puzzle together, a really clear picture starts to emerge. This isn't about some mysterious, unstoppable economic force. It's about the choices we've made as a society. We've seen how the minimum wage, losing its value, and the decline of unions played a massive role. But the source material also points to other factors. Things like long periods of high unemployment that hold wages down, globalization policies that sometimes favored corporations over workers, and a general weakening of labor standards. But here is the most crucial point of this entire story. It's actually a hopeful one. If these decades of stagnant wages were created by a series of deliberate policy choices, well, that means it can be reversed by a new set of policy choices. This whole situation is not inevitable.
And that leaves us with one final forward-looking question. The economy is going to keep growing. It's going to keep creating wealth. The real question is who is going to benefit from that prosperity? And the answer to that really just depends on the choices we all decide to make next.